from there on, during the demo, we'll just stop the video. Hello, everybody. I hope I am visible and audible to you all.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Thank you, Dr. So I'm Vincent Kipkoech Chebon, and just as Dr. Makupi has introduced, I'm a former student at Kabarak, and also I'm an enthusiast in terms of techpreneur, and basically skilled in mobile and web application programming. So currently I am based at Atlantis Technologies, where I am a DevOps engineer, which means basically we write code in any stack and then we deploy our solutions using things like CI/CD for pipelines, and which is normally broad knowledge in terms of technology and how to handle your projects in large scale. And in a nutshell, in the industry, I have an experience of so far for now over 5 years, majorly in terms of web and even mobile app development using both Android and Flutter. So for this session, I'm gonna take you through Flutter as a framework for doing mobile application, and also Android using Java for developing applications using the native way or the vanilla way per se. And I hope this session will be fruitful for all of you members. And at the end of the session, probably I'll take some of your questions. And yeah, that will be a wrap. So to just get started, so I'm going to start with doing a demo on an application with you guys using, first of all, Android, using Java, the native way. And then probably later on, we'll be able to do now Flutter as a framework. And yeah, so I hope you guys will enjoy this session so much. And I hope I'll be able to pass some few bits and basics and even introduce some of you into this field, which, as all of you now know, that Kenya is going digital. And even we see that the president has launched over 5,000 services just last week. And you see the future of IT is growing in Kenya and elsewhere in the world. So I led discussions about how IT and tech space, in short, we handle it after we have done a walkthrough demo for Flutter and Java, and we'll be able to have such conversations at the end. Yeah, so with that, Daktari, I will request to share my screen so that we can be able to go through a live demo of a simple application. So if I don't have the rights, and from here, let me request to stop my video now. I believe everybody has seen my face. If you see me out there somewhere in Nairobi, please stop me and say hi. All right.
Vincent, can you check if you can share now?
Okay, let me try. Oh yes, I am able to share now. So let me share my entire screen. I believe all of you can be able to view my screen.
Yes, sure. We can.
Okay, thank you. So for this session, I'm going to do something very basic. And as you can see from my screen, I have several projects already opened up. Not even opened up, but a list of projects which I've done so far for Android. And I'm doing a live presentation using my workstation laptop, so you can be able to see some of the works that I do. So there's some of the works I do, I'm doing for KMPDU. There's some of the works I'm doing for a company called Shulemol and another company called Avrelo and several others. So for this session, I'll just walk you through the procedure of some very basic way of getting into Android Studio. Mind you, I believe everybody with their own respective machines, you have already done an installation of Android Studio. Up to that point, I'm not going to cover installation during this session because it might take quite a while. But I'll recommend all of you, if you have not done so, you can do a YouTube tutorial for the same and just follow the guide on how to install Android Studio on your machine. And mind you, this needs a little bit of a powerful machine. Yeah, usijaribu hii kwa dual core. Yeah, if you want to see your machine hang like never before. So normally Android Studio is recommended for a Core i3 and above with 8 GB RAM because Android Studio is quite heavy on many machines. So that's some of the minimum requirements for you to install Android Studio. So it's always good to check the specs of your machine before you proceed with any kind of a programming language that you are interested in to pursue. So without much ado, so I'm going to create a new project immediately. So the project we're going to do is a very basic project, which is a very basic intro to Android Studio, where we're going to see how to create a UI. And then within the same UI, which is basically a login UI. So you'll have a login UI where you can be able to enter your username or even email with a password. And then after that, when you click on login, you should be able to open to you a dashboard, which will have a text view or very light information within the dashboard. And then have a sign out button where we should be able to redirect back to the login view. All right. So I believe up to that point we are in sync. So for that, I will create a new project. So within this view, we are able to see several options that we are being provided by Android Studio on how to proceed, which is basic activities which can help you to jumpstart your progress in Android Studio quickly. But for this session, I'm going to create a no activity project so that we can be able to learn how to set up the various sections of an Android application. So in this session, basically we're going to do a practical of what we've learned and some of the things I'm going to mention along the way. So with that, let me not go too fast, but after choosing no activity within the project window, so we're gonna proceed to the next window where we are going to provide the application name for our project. And with that, so for this demo, we're going to call it for our project, we can call it something like Ukweli app. So something you can give it any name, and majorly it is always recommended that you name your apps according to what solution you're providing. So for the demo, we'll just call it Ukweli app, and then the package name is normally a domain syntax way of having unique identifier for our packages. So for those who have Java knowledge, so let me just up to that point, Stephen Odoya, I've seen you have raised your hand.
Yes, there are guys in the waiting room. If the host can please allow them in.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a co-host within us? Let me see.
Yes. I've added.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Doctor. Yeah, so I was at the package name. So the package name is where you provide a unique name for your app. So this is very important when it comes to putting your app publicly to the Google Play Store. It should be a very unique package name. And then it is also always recommended that you use a package name according to a website that you have. So for example, if I have a website called chebon.vincent or chebon.co.ke, so it also recommend that you can rename your package name according to your website. After that is the location of your project. So I'm going to leave it there for my case. And then the language of your choice. So those days when Android was still new, when Daktari was teaching us, we didn't have Kotlin, and they can bear witness. So Kotlin is a very young language that came around 2018. So for those who understand Kotlin, you can opt to use Kotlin for development. But for this case, I'm going to go with Java to showcase how to go about developing an app using Java. So finally, the minimum SDK for this case, we are going to say the default one, which is Android 5.0, which is labeled as Lollipop. So minimum SDK here basically means is the type of Android that you have. So normally, for many people may not know this, but each and every smartphone has a unique name to that operating system that is running. So for Android users, each and every smartphone that is being released, it has a name for that Android operating system that is running on that mobile phone. So for you to target so many audiences, it's normally recommended that you target an older version of SDKs, and we have several in this list, so as you can see. And the first versions were 4.1, but I believe some have been removed here. 4.1, it was the earliest version of Android. The days of there were a smartphone called Ideos and so many others. So for that case, we're going to choose Android 5.0 so that you can see now we are developing an app that is going to target approximately 99.5% of devices that are being used out there in the world. So if I choose a more recent version, you will see that the percentage score is going to drop down to something like 84%, which means that fewer people are having Android 9.0 and above as their operating system. So for that case, I'm going to choose Android 5.0. And then finally, I'm just going to click on finish. And automatically, Android will start doing building our application, as you can see at the bottom. So it's doing a gradual build. And then once done, we shall be able to progress. So for first-time users, for Android Studio, it may take some while for Gradle to finish. Yeah, since it is downloading a lot of binaries to be able to run. So for this case, I'm going to give it a few minutes. Let me believe it won't take quite a while. And then I'll be able to show you now. The next step is to understand within the folder structures of our project, where are we going to place our UIs, where are we going to place our Java backend logics, and then where are we going to manipulate the UI from. So for my case, Android is finish setting up our project. So for this, I am going to the side pane here under the project section. And then I'm going to now walk you through each and every layer of our folder structure and how we are going to lay our code respectively. So up to this point, I believe I have not left anyone behind. So I will also request to take questions at the end. And then, yes. So now, how do we now proceed to code after our project has finished initializing? So that's the next question I'm going to tackle for you. So the next thing is understanding how Android does lay out the folders. Now, as you can see, we are having three sections. The first section is manifest. Now, manifest, this means that all the application configuration, let me call it configuration access point of our application are going to be stored inside the manifest file. So inside this, like the application name, which we're going to see in a few minutes. And then you can be able to do things like the changing the application icon, which we're going to see. And then we have a section called Java, where we store now our backend logics for our app, which is now based on Java language. And then we have a folder called res, which in full means resources. So under resources folder, we have 4 folders. The first one is drawable. Now, under drawable is where we put our pictures or our icons. And as you can see, already we have an icon or background image here. which is done using a vector. So under drawable, you can be able even to do vectors using XML. And XML here we mean extended markup language. So if you know HTML, so XML is like an earlier version of doing UI, and then HTML is kind of a high level script for doing UI. And in this area also you can put any images like PNG or JPEG under this section for drawable. Now under bitmap folder is where we put now our application launcher icon. If I open this one, you can be able now to see that indeed it is a launcher or our application icon. And in this bitmap, it's only where we do and then all other images are being done under the drawable. So you need to do that one. And then the second last folder is called values. So under values is where we have three things: the colors that we are going to use in our app. So if you want to tweak colors, you can be able to tweak under the colors, which is under the value section. Under strings is where we can be able to store all the strings, which is basically text characters within our Android app. And finally, we have a folder called themes, where we can be able to say that our app is going to use a certain theme across the entire application. So by default, Android gives you a material component theme, which is by default designed by Google. And for this section, I'll let you, all of you members, to go on your own, and then you can be able to even see some so many themes along the Android line which have been developed. But a user-friendly theme is a material component theme, and which we're going to use during this demo by default. Yeah. So finally, we have another folder called XML. And then within XML, this is where things like backup rules and data extraction rules can be able to be applied. So this one we will not cover in today's demo. For this is quite on the advanced level. So for XML, I'll let for you members on your own as you continue learning Android, see how you can be able to do backups and those other configurations which are intermediate and at advanced levels. So basically, our resources folder is our UI folder, where you can be able to manipulate everything for the UI. And then there is a folder here which is missing, which is normally called layouts, if I'm not wrong. But as we progress in the next step, in the next few minutes, we can be able to see that folder also. So which is basically used to just design now the UI using a graphical interface. So here we've just learned the various sections of an Android application using Java. And I skipped Android manifest file so that I can be able to tackle it at the end during the folder structure explanation. Now this file, Android manifest file, is basically an entry point file for when your application is running. So within this file, you can be able to do interesting things like defining the label of your app, which is the app name, and also defining the launcher icon for your app. So we'll be able to see that this launcher icon and the app name will be able to be visible while installing on an actual device, which I'm going to use an emulator for that. So just to interpolate some few things within here, the manifest file, is that you can see the icon is being picked from the MIPMAP folder, and then the icon itself now is called an IC launcher icon. So going to the MIPMAP folder, as I showed you earlier, you can see that the launcher icon is this one here. When you double click on it, you see the icon as it is. So you can be able even to change this icon by coming and creating your own, or even pasting your own icons, and then coming to the Android manifest file and then modifying the icon and also even the app name. So for the app name, you can see it is also referencing and the string and then picking the app name. So what this at string means is coming all the way to the resources folder under the values, and then there is a file called strings.xml where you store all your texts in one area, and then you just call them within each and everywhere you need that text. So it gives you like code reusability very well. So with that, up to that point, as I put my charger, let me open the floor if anyone has something to raise as I put my laptop on power. So with that, so I'm going to dive in now straight away to our demo application. So where we're going to start by creating a login activity, and then within the login activity, we are going to create two fields: a username or an email field, a password field, and a login button. And then finally, we're going to create a dashboard where we're going to put a simple button just to log you out, which essentially will just navigate you back to the login page. So that we can be able to learn how to navigate between one page and another page. So with that, now for us to create a login activity. Now, when we talk about an activity, as you've learned in class, an activity is just a screen that you see on your phone. So what that screen, normally when you open like WhatsApp or any other application, is normally called an activity. So let me spin up an virtual emulator and put it on the side as we progress.